49 years ago today, this young brother by the name of Fred Hampton was assassinated under orders from Richard J. Daley, State's Attorney Edward Hanrahan, and Director FBI J. Edgar Hoover. Now, in the black community, those of us who know our history, or those parents and grandparents that have made sure we know more than just Dr. King, I Have a Dream, and Rosa Parks, and Harriet Tubman, and George Washington Carver, and I'm not shitting on them. But as seen as far as some of our brothers and sisters' history goes of knowing about influential blacks. Fred Hampton was 21 years old when he was assassinated in his West Side home. Now, the block which he lived on has been gentrified. It's right over that ground by the United Center, not that far from Oprah Performance Studios, and not that far from the former site of the Black Panther headquarters, right off the corner of Madison and Western. Now, if you're from Chicago and you're old enough, or like I said, your parents, grandparents, uncles, teachers, excuse me, told you about your history, you know exactly where they would be at. Now, unfortunately, it's no landmark. There's no plaque stating this is where this is at. This is where this was at. Which it's not saying that some of the people haven't tried to get it done. Cause I think they tried to get a street named after Fred Hampton years ago, and the Fraternal Police blocked it. In which the black community, or at least nationwide, black folks should have been outraged that a police department killed this young brother and killed Matthew Clark, if I remember the name correctly. I sit back and I think about these images that I've been seeing ever since I was a little kid of the bloody mattress and him laying in the floor of his apartment because he was drugged out by the police. And his partner, the mother of his child, she has for years told the same story, that the cops said he's still alive. And they took a gun and blew the back, shot the back of his head and said he's good and dead now. Y'all see that famous photo of the white cops carrying his body out smiling? Now, I don't know if them cops been identified or they ever been identified, but I've yet to see anybody in our community across the country say, this is what they did in Chicago. And it wasn't just Chicago, but it was a big story because you had a year prior, a year or so prior, the riots, West Side riots, right there, and on that block and down the street and across the street, buildings burnt around and hit the Panther headquarters and stuff. All that was in the same area. That corridor streets, Dr. King went down and met with people, marching people and everything. So that side of town has a history. Black activists on that side of town at that time, deep. But if you turn on the TV today, I don't expect CNN or MSNBC or damn sure don't expect Fox to say anything. I don't expect the big news networks to say anything. Now, I could be wrong. But I don't expect it to happen. Because so far, I haven't seen any mention of Fred Hampton in the news. But the local media here ought to be ashamed of themselves. Then again, I'm not shocked. And there's a reason why I bring this up. It was 49 years ago this brother was assassinated. But 50 years ago, this past April, Dr. King was assassinated. King lived in Chicago on the West Side. And I keep mentioning the West Side because when people think of Chicago, they think very negative of the South Side, but also even more so the West Side. But there was a lot of, like I said, a lot of political activity and a lot of shit went down on that side of town. when they talk about Dr. King being assassinated, they would show him walking up the stairs the previous day. They would show him standing over the balcony the previous day. And they show that last video, the last speech he gave the night before he was assassinated. They show him lying dead on the balcony. Now, any other time, the Chicago media, I don't care if it's black related, white related, I don't care what it is, they try to find a Chicago connection. And they put up all kinds of foul footage. And they'll milk the story till they can't. This year, they didn't show or talk about King when he lived on the West Side. They mentioned it very briefly. They didn't talk about when King would go into the neighborhood stores or business, or they would lead marches, or when he went downtown in different communities. They didn't talk about where he lived and what was it like. They didn't mention none of that. They show old soundless clip of him in Soldier Field. Or they'll show him getting hit in the head with a rock over in Gage Park. That's video footage of Fred Hampton giving interviews, even color footage of Fred Hampton giving interviews. They don't show it because they don't want to risk black youth of today learning their history. This is why so many of our children and teens are apathetic, because they don't see it. You know what the excuse is? We lost it, or it got taped over. Or my favorite, if it got any music in the background, but we don't have the rights to use it. Wait a minute. All this, you can get the rights. I'm pretty sure these companies, if you knew it was for historical purposes, they say, hey, we want to talk about this. The other day, it was an anniversary. It was the 60th anniversary of Our Lady of Angels. Now, whether you're from Chicago, nationwide, worldwide, this incident affected everybody, especially of school age. What happened was December 1st, 1958. 92 children and 3 nuns burnt alive in the school on the west side in the Humber Park area. Not that far from where the Panthers headquarters were, not that far from where Dr. King lived, not that far where they marched from Cicero, Illinois, not that far from the downtown area. Now, I expect the 1950s, even they had television in 1950s, they had video, they had pictures. And there's a website got this Our Lady Angels. School burnt down. It was a brick and wood building. And it's been rumored they knew who did it, but they never pressed charges. Some 10-year-old kid at the time. They never, to this day, they won't release his name, won't say who he is. But I remember as far as second grade, hearing them talking about this school. You know, when you go on fire drills, it's because of that school catching on fire. They changed the laws. Schools are wired to the fire department. That's why when you see the pull a fire alarm, all that is wired because of that incident. All the 92 kids died and 3 nuns. But that didn't stop the Chicago media from talking about it even before the days before the incident. They started talking about this the Sunday before last. All the way up. And then on the day they talked about it. Then the next day they mentioned it. But Dr. King, who lived in Chicago, who lived on the west side, that ate in certain restaurants, marched, talked, barely, you didn't want to talk about that. Fred Hampton, who lived on the west side, got assassinated by the Chicago police under orders from Hoover, Daley, and Hanrahan. A Chicago police hit squad. Now, mind you, you heard me say Chicago police hit squad. What's going on in Chicago today? You got men on trial for covering up the Van Dyke who killed Laquan McDonald. How many police shootings have been in Chicago? How many times have you heard members of fraternal order of police insult the black community? But the media don't want to even talk about it because they're afraid that these younger cats, male or female, will sit back and say, wait a minute, this happened 49 years ago? This happened 50 years ago? And they don't barely want to talk about it? But something that happened 60 years ago, they talk about it. JFK, every year they talk about JFK. Now, this is the first year I didn't see them put a shitload of documentaries out about it. This is why I talk about our history and I get frustrated that our people been broken, just don't, our history is broken down to sound bites. This brother was assassinated, and you had people like Megyn Kelly get hired at NBC who badmouthed this brother and the organization he belonged to. A lot of people don't realize the school lunch program and all that shit, immunization, that shit started by the Black Panther Party. WIC, all that shit, Black Panther Party. Breakfast, all that shit. Kids usually would eat at home before they went to school. It was assumed that everybody was getting a balanced breakfast at home. That's why they see kids could eat breakfast at school. Because a lot of kids, families couldn't afford the extra food. Or parents was working jobs and kids could go in the kitchen and just cook something up. Because parents either afraid they were going to burn out at home or they didn't want them risking doing those things. They might have to travel a great distance to go to school. Megyn Kelly and Tommy Lauren, this dude, 21 years old, they talk about, well, the Black Panthers were terrorists. I was on social media and somebody had mentioned by Fred Hampton, and white folks came in. And I don't know why white folks decided to come into, they always do. They butt into conversation. He was a terrorist. He was a domestic terrorist. Tell me what Fred Hampton destroyed something, blew up something. Because the Panthers said they want to protect their communities from corrupt cops or corrupt business owners or people coming out of the community committing acts of crime and stuff not getting solved. No wonder today we have a sense of apathy with some of our people. This brother they tried to set this brother up. This brother went and fought. They tried to say he stole some ice cream bars from an ice cream vendor in Maywood. He went to court, argued his own court case and won. He is very charismatic. Hoover and them say he was more dangerous. They say he was more dangerous than Dr. King. He was young and he studied King and Malcolm and all that. And another thing, he was able to talk to them white cats. He was in the Vietnam veterans that was coming back, or those who didn't believe in it. They was out there cheering for the Black Panther Party. And that's another thing. A lot of motherfuckers today vote Republican and got anti-black sentiments, but back in the 60s, when they thought they can get benefit from the Panthers and Fred Hampton and Huey Newton and the rest of them, they was supporting them. It's documentaries that have been made, and some of y'all have seen them. 49 years have gone by, and every year it's like less and less they mention his brother. But they mention negative shit about him, but they won't mention about the positive shit. They took out a 21-year-old dude. He was a kid. His son has outlived his father. He never got to see his son born. He never held him. He never got to teach him anything. See, they was afraid that Fred was going to grow up and he was going to transition from Panther to political leadership. Bobby Rush, the one that Barack Obama ran against, that was Fred Hampton's partner. And y'all see the old clip of Bobby Rush with that? Now Bobby Rush is a congressman. Just think about that. A lot of those brothers and sisters that didn't get pinched by the police, they transformed their life. They became productive, even more productive members of society. Not saying they wasn't productive, but you know what I mean. How many of y'all knew that Shaka Khan ran with Fred Hampton and them on the west side? How many of y'all knew that Don Cornelius used to interview Fred Hampton when he was at WVON? They don't talk about our history. Our history is American history. Fred Hampton had been 70 years old if he lived. They took his life away from him. Merrick Davis was able to live his life out as an old man, had a heart attack in office. Harry had died about 5-6 years ago. J. Edgar Hoover died an old man, and then we found out that he was actually a black man passing. They killed this dude. And the thing in the city of Chicago, we honor everybody else. We honor Columbus, he was a killer. We honor all these other people, and yet it gets to this brother, we don't have nothing to honor him by. But see, Black Chicago need to get on their shit. We got a statue of Michael Jordan. All he did was play fucking basketball. There's no statues honoring our people. Now, like I said, I could be wrong. Before the day is over with, and maybe local news may say something about Hampton, but I don't think so. And if they do, will they go into in depth? They never, you know, if they do talk about it, they never mention Mary Daly. I'm talking about Daddy Daly, not son. Daddy Daly. Hanrahan was able to live his life in peace. The brother that set Hampton and Clark up, yeah, he went out there and committed suicide on the Eisenhower Express around the traffic, but he was able to live a while after he should have been hunted down and he should have been taken out by the community. He set them up for what, like $400? Why hasn't Hollywood done a movie about him? We didn't see them do movies about everybody else. I'm pretty sure they said we want to do a movie by Fred Hampton. They can do it. It is easy enough to do. But they don't want to put that narrative out there. They want to fake that narrative that the Black Panthers are terrorists. That's why Tommy Lauren and Megyn Kelly, I hope they both get ovarian cancer. Non-curable, no radiation. I hope, I said it. Because Megyn Kelly made her bones going after old Black Panthers and new Black Panthers. But then I'm going to tell you what happened during the Obama administration. You had over at the FBI, wasn't it Comey and them decided they wanted to go after that sister that went to Cuba. That was in the Obama administration, folks. They didn't do that in the Bush administration. They mentioned it, but they didn't go after her hard. But in the Obama administration, and Obama allowed it. Obama could have said, wait a minute, why are you going out to leave her alone? Even though there's evidence that will prove that she was set up. You still got a lot of old Panthers in jail for bogus ass charges. Next should be 50 years that this brother been gone. And like I said, there's no plaque, there's no nothing, there's no stat, there's nothing representative. And you would think that these so-called down brothers and sisters, you would think a church or something say, wait a minute, he lived on the west side, he died on the west side. Even though the building may be gone where they had the headquarters at, but we need to let people know this is what was once here. His history should be told in schools, not sound bites, not distortions. This is why I say control your dollar, know your history. I never met Fred Hampton. I've never met his son. I've seen his son speak on TV a few times. I've yet to meet Bobby Rush, and I hope to meet him one day. A lot of the men and women that were Panthers have moved to other states or died, or they just quietly and went away. It's up to us, those of us who know our history, those who want to teach history. We got to be willing to speak about it. I know there's a documentary came out last year, and I bought it. It was about the Panthers. And they talk about where it started, how it's, and they mentioned it was a segment, not a long segment, but it was a segment where they talked about Fred Hampton. But it was a lot more that could have been done and developed. But people need to understand the Chicago police assassinated this brother under orders from Mayor Daley, State's Attorney Edward Hanrahan, and J. Edgar Hoover. They said, we got Malcolm, we got King, because they said he was a Messiah. They got to stop him. We don't need no more black Messiahs. That's when they had that break-in, that coin pro tail, what do they call it? The counterintelligence program they did. And they found out that they purposely set up King and Malcolm and all these different the Black Panther, these factions. And a lot of these old men are talking right now, but we should be repulsed by what they did. They should be named. We should have. You know how white folks put up in certain parts of the country, put up these billboards about shit they feel is important or things that bother them. We should do the same. Even though they dead. Remember these men murdered. These are the original leaders. This is where today's murderers get their ideas from. We should do something like that. There's a reason why Chicago is the way it is. But people, that's why they tell you, well, we're going to go back and talk about the past. Why not? You're afraid that somebody's going to say, wait a minute, 1969, 2018, what the fuck, man? Nothing that really changed. Just fashion and cars and music. But the state of social programs, anxieties, they exist. So, like I said, I just found it odd that the media can talk about a fire from 60 years ago. The media can half-ass talk about Dr. King and what happened when given that he lived in Chicago. You would think they'd be putting all kinds of clips. But you got people that lived in Chicago for a month, a celebrity that he lived in Chicago area, not even within the city limits. Sean Hayes and Will and Grace was on WGN last week with his husband, right? And he talked, how do you feel back to be in your hometown, Chicago? Technically, if you want to get technical, Glen Ellen is not Chicago, it's a Chicagoland suburb. Harrison Ford, Robert Williams, briefly lived in Chicago. When he died, you know, the Chicago connection. Harrison Ford left Chicago years ago. He'd been in California longer than Chicago. Quincy Jones, they said, well, you know, he's from Chicago, South Side. He left Chicago back in the damn 40s. Ain't looked back since. He got family still living, but you get what I'm saying. Don Cornelius created Soul Train in Chicago, but everybody thinks it's a Los Angeles thing. If you don't know history, you misquote or you distort shit. And we let your Megyn Kellys, your Tommy Lawrence, your Bill O'Reillys, and your Sean Hannitys and the rest of them distort the image of the Panthers. But the moment you say they assassinated Fred Hampton, he must have done something. Right now, if you go on social media, they say, well, he's a domestic terrorist. He deserved it. And they got caught lying in this video out there that proves it. But guess what? None of them motherfuckers served time in jail. The family, they supposedly said got a settlement, but if it's true what they offered them and gave them, that was shit. Now some of those police officers are dead now, but we should know their fucking names. They should be in the history book. This motherfucker poured. This motherfucker was a part of it. He was a killer. They were nothing but stone cold terrorists. I mean, just think about those of us who made it to 21 and lived past 21. Just think about what you was doing at 21 and then you was able to do at 23 and 24. He didn't get to do none of those things. They thought he was a threat at 21. That's why he run around killing these young brothers for no reason. They see us as potential threats. And then if you so happen to make a certain age, they gotta go find some. Look at Bill Cosby. All the years he was young and vibrant. They didn't fuck with him because he's making money off his ass. But they realized this old man got that kind of money and he gonna pass off to surviving kids and grandkids. Oh fuck no, we gotta take that money away from him. We gotta destroy his character. Same thing with Michael Jackson. Eddie Griffin said, we can never leave clean. They will never let us leave clean. So the next time somebody say the Black Panther Party terrorists, you ask them, tell us what did they kill? Who did they terrorize? Tell us. That's why I get tired of people talking about Ferguson. Tell us who they killed, who they terrorized. But I can tell you what Mayor Daley did. It's proven. They gave the orders to kill this dude. Hanahan, Hoover, they gave the orders. They gave the green light to go in the middle of the night. They could have tear gassed them, the motherfuckers out if they wanted to. No, they went and shot the place. And then lied and said they shoot back at the police officers. None of the sort. That's why today they rope off the crime scenes and shit. Back then, if they knew what they knew now, they would have went back and hid it. They would have done everything. They probably would have knocked the building down. They would have did everything. It took them like, what, a week to do it, if I remember correctly, to board up the building and everything, but it was too late. But let something bad happen in Chicago. You know, in Chicago, there's so many murders and stuff. They don't care if they distort it and don't tell you what happened, who, where, why. But anything else, they want to gloss over. They want to pretend like it didn't exist. You talk about 5 from 60, and I'm not shitting on that because there's still survivors today. It was traumatizing. I'm going to do an in-depth video about that and all the stuff, how it's all connected, directly, indirectly. How the West Side, the face of the West Side changed and why they neglected and why all this stuff was going on. But I'll do that probably at a later date if ever. But the thing is, I want y'all to focus on how they ignore the history of the black men and black women that was a part of the movement, whose lives were sacrificed. But yet, any other time, they can still talk about Disco Demolition Night, 1978 at Comiskey Park. I'm like, really? Y'all talking about Disco Demolition Night at Comiskey Park. And y'all ignoring the elephant in the room that was about race. Y'all can talk about that. But anything else that pertains to the black community in that era, you gloss over or you just ignore. And they claim, oh, we don't have the foul footage, but everybody else got footage. You don't think that Time Life or the National Archives or your local history museums don't have any foul footage? You think these television stations don't have it? Come on, man. They can put videotape out anything else. Maybe somebody might do something tonight, mention it tonight. If they do, it's going to surprise the hell out of me, but the local media ain't saying shit. Now, I know somebody say, well, wait a minute, they might be waiting until the 50th anniversary. Well, we had a 30th anniversary, we had a 40th anniversary, and we had a 50th anniversary about King living in Chicago, and you barely mentioned it. And there are people here that lived through that. My father marched when King came to Chicago. They marched to City Hall to Soldier Field. My father said he remembered King and them used to ride up and down Roosevelt and Madison and all that stuff, down Pulaski and Cicero. They used to go to the pool halls and the movie theaters and stuff, and the churches and things. But you don't hear nothing about that. Fred Hampton and them did the same thing. You hear nothing about that. But they show that gruesome picture every time. Basically trying to, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of us gave up. We was afraid that, you see what they did to Fred Hampton, you see what they did to Dr. King, Malcolm X. I don't want that to be me. And that mindset and set our people back. And all that anger and frustration been passed on. We internalize it, and we've started to eat ourselves from within. Like I said, I never met this brother. I ain't gonna lie, it's days I wish I could go back into time and just observe what it was like at that time. What was it like for I mean, I know what it was like, but I mean firsthand experience. What was it like for our mothers and fathers to walk up and down these streets, going to these schools, the first black students, or these jobs, or dealing with the cops? I know the stories my parents told me, my aunts, uncles, my grandmothers, and I know the stories they told me, but still, what was it like being on the West Side during 1966 to 1969? What was it like? What was the climate? Nobody want to talk about this. And that bugs me. That nobody. It's a handful of us that acknowledge or mention this every year. We talk about Robert Kennedy, we talk about John F. Kennedy, we talk about Marilyn Monroe, we talk about all these dead white folk. But when it gets to us, we want to pretend like we don't exist. And black folk, we should be more curious than we are. All I can say is to Fred, brother, rest in power. And hopefully one day we would do your legacy justice. I know your son out there been trying to fight the good fight, but we can do better. It need to be some type of plaque or statue honoring this young brother. And I ain't talking about in Washington D.C. I mean, no disrespect to the Civil Rights Museum, but each city should have a museum that what we do. We got the Sabo Museum, but I'm talking about it should be multiple places where we can go learn our history because in the Jewish community they let you know they in the Holocaust didn't happen here. It happened overseas, but you got kids, they got pictures and everything. Shit happened to us in this country, and we don't want to acknowledge, or we don't want to demand that it be acknowledged.